I love the theme of why not, so I want to tell you a little bit about my story and someone else's story that fits in with that, and I thank you for the honor and the privilege of being able to speak to you today. So for those of you who don't know about our program, it's called The Young Turks. It's based in the United States. It's in Los Angeles. We're now the largest online news show in the world, and it's also part of a network. Our network is called TYT Network. It has 29 channels on YouTube. We're also on Hulu. We're also on our website, theyoungturks.com. We're on Roku. We're on Pluto TV. We're everywhere. And I've been a host on television on MSNBC. I've been a host on television on Current TV, which is run by Al Gore, or was run by Al Gore. And Al Gore is, I'm very lucky to have him as a mentor of mine. Now, I tell you all of that, and so as context, before I tell you how I got there, and the story of my why not. And let me say one last thing about that. Right now, we stand at 2 billion views worldwide overall, and we have about 65 million views every single month. So now, keep that in mind as I tell you how we started. So I went to good schools because I have a Turkish father and a Turkish mother. Turkish mother is very supportive. I'm going to talk to you about her a lot in a little while. My father is very demanding. So when I got an exam, and let's say I got a 98 out of 100, he would say, oh, that's pretty good. What happened to the other 2 points? Okay. So I went to Wharton Business School, undergraduate, and then I went to Columbia Law School. So he said, okay, good. We did good over there. And then I decided, yeah, I'm going to throw those degrees pretty much in the garbage and become a radio talk show host. And he said, manha. Okay. So I started on the weekends. I started filling in, and I started on local cable. I started in radio in Washington and in Boston. I used to drive 9 hours up to Boston to do a 3-hour show and then drive 9 hours back. My dad, as I said, cares a lot about how you should work really hard, the Turkish work ethic, Turkish entrepreneur ethic, which a lot of you have. And he says, you have to go and eat, you have to sweep the floors, get in there. So that's what I was trying to do, and it worked pretty well. I started getting a couple of radio jobs, and then I came here one day to talk to the relatives, and I asked, you know, how everything was going, and then I talked to one of my great uncles, Ismail Dede. He's the elder of the family, and he says, Cenk, I heard about you, and come here and let me talk to you. I heard you're doing some crazy stuff. So as a lot of you know, in Turkey, there's really 4 main jobs: business person, lawyer, doctor, engineer. And that's it. So for Ismail Dede, he had no idea what I was doing. He didn't understand. And I tried to explain it to him. It's a talk show, it's radio, it's this, it's that. And then at the end, he said, let me get this right. Are you a palyaço? Kind of, not exactly, I hope not. So we got past that, and then finally, you know, I worked in radio and TV enough that I became a bit of a successful TV writer and commentator and producer, and was making a good living, and moved from Miami to Los Angeles, and then I decided, nah, let's throw that in the garbage too, and go back into doing my own talk shows. After all, why not, right? And I'll explain at the end why not, and why some of us pause. And so at that point, we started a radio show from my living room in Los Angeles, literally. Okay, there was the bedroom, there was the kitchen, which you saw right next to our studio, and then we bought a microphone and some radio equipment, and we started a radio show. And that seemed crazy at the time because it was crazy. But we thought, why not? And we got started, and then we were on Sirius Satellite Radio, which was it's nationwide. We were their first original talk show. Got fairly successful. Then they realized we were actually on there, and they decided to pay us because as usual, we had to break down the door, do whatever we had to do, sneak in to get on the air, which we did. And then we were getting paid rather well, and our contract came up, and they decided that they didn't want any online video. But I was convinced that online video was the future, right? That everybody was going to go to online video, and that radio and even TV eventually was going to become obsolete. So when they offered us $250,000, I said, no, thank you. I'm going to stay on online video. I can do radio, but I'm not going to be exclusive to you. And I later talked to the program director who told me, Cenk, we thought you were nuts. We thought there's no way you're going to turn that kind of money down. And I remember having the conversation between the hosts and the producers, and we thought, why not? And we turned it down because we were sure of where we were going. If you know where you're going, it's easier to get there. It doesn't mean it's easy. It's incredibly hard to get there. But at least you get on the right road. That's the most important thing of all. So then we wound up having some success there. And we had success not only on Sirius Satellite Radio, XM Radio, then we got contracts with Air America, and then we started doing well with online video. We were YouTube's first ever partner globally. And then we were in that first batch. We had a contract with AOL, and we started to grow. And then we started getting some TV offers, and I wound up going to MSNBC. And MSNBC, for those of you who don't live in America, is one of the cable news stations. CNBC does mainly business in the US. MSNBC is a little bit more political. And they paid well. It's television. And at one point, though, they came and asked me to listen a little bit more, I'm being very polite, to what the government wanted. And so that issue is not just a Turkish problem. It's all across the world. It's also an American problem. They said, he told me, the head of MSNBC, that he had just been in Washington and that Washington didn't like my tone. Okay. Now, that's because we do a program that is not on one side or the other. So if the Republicans need criticizing, we criticize them. If the Democratic Party needs criticizing, we criticize them. MSNBC mainly supports the Democratic Party, and so they were uncomfortable with that. Now, they still offered me a very good contract, but they wanted to move me from nighttime, where most of the viewers are, to the weekends. They actually offered to double my salary, okay? Which is to say, be a good team player, don't tell anybody about this, okay? We all continue to do what we do, and everybody gets along. And they thought, nobody's crazy enough to turn that down. But what they didn't know is, at the time, I was a delikanlı. So I was crazy enough, and I did turn it down. Because I knew that the audience is online. So no government can stop what's happening online. The US government can't stop it. The Egyptian government can't stop it. The Turkish government can't stop it. None of them can stop it, okay? It's the people. Yes, there are times when the Chinese government does a terrific job of stopping it, right? And yes, from time to time, this government here in Turkey blocks certain social media. I'm very aware of that, right? And yes, sometimes you get a speech in America about how Washington doesn't like your tone. So that's true all over the world. But I remember that I saw a movie, you might remember, Gladiator. And there was a line that I loved there when he's training Russell Crowe, the gladiator trainer says, you win the crowd and you win your freedom, right? And I believe at 2 billion people, we have won the crowd. And so we have won our freedom. Now, well, I tell you that because it's not just in the media. It's true in everything you do, in whatever your passion is, right? That if you know what road you want to be on and you do not get talked out of it, because I know that in the culture, honestly, that we come from, people think, well, there are certain ways to do things, and that if you step outside of those bounds, that you're not doing the proper thing. Ayıp, or many other words that they use for trying to bring you back in line. But in front of me, I see a lot of strong, smart women. And so if people try to give you those rules and those boundaries, don't listen to them, okay? You got to know when to take good advice, because that's incredibly important, but you also got to know when to say, that's your advice, but it's not quite right for me, okay? That was one of the hardest things I had to tackle, because the people giving you advice are not bad people. They're your family, they're your friends. Smiley, they cared a lot about me. So did my dad, and they loved me, and they supported me. It just, my future wasn't their past. Those are two different things. And so the person that actually gave me the most inspiration was my mom. Because my mom, in the beginning, had not gone to college. She got married at the age of 18 and then went to America with my dad. And she didn't go to business school like I did. She didn't have any of that. But after we left the house, she decided, I'm going to go to Parsons, which is one of the best fashion schools, colleges in America. Well, people thought, that's crazy. And she thought, why not? And so she went to Parsons. And then she decided that she was going to go to FIT. Fashion Institute of Technology, one of the best fashion schools in the world. So she went to FIT. And then one day when I was in law school in 1994, she comes to my house in New York and says, and she's got a bubble with her, a suitcase, okay? And in it is all these Turkish goods. And she says, Cenk, we're going to go sell these. I said, what? What are you talking about? I don't know how to sell those. You don't know how to sell those. What do you? And she had had a lot of experience in presenting Turkish cultural goods in America. And she had been invited to present at Heritage Week in Washington, D.C., and she would always bring the Turkish dresses and home textiles, et cetera. And she was known for that, but she'd never been in business. And we literally took a suitcase full of material down to ABC Home and Carpet in New York, which is a great store in New York. And I was like, Mom, you're crazy. I don't know what I'm doing. She's like, you went to business school. I'm like, they don't teach you this in business school. And so she said, no, it's okay. Let's just do it. Let's see what happens, okay? So we walk in, and I say, okay, where do we sell this? And they say, well, your lucky day, 3rd floor. It's open invitation day today, and the buyers are actually taking people in, and they'll look at your material. She says, kalp. Okay. So with her heart working properly, we went up there, and it turns out, and my mom had been telling me the whole time, oh, you went to Penn, you went to Wharton, that'll help. I'm like, Mom, they didn't teach us this. And it turns out the guy says, oh, you went to Penn? I went to Penn. He said, okay, let me see what you got. My mom's like, see? I told you. Okay. So from that suitcase, she went on to create Nuco Creations, which sold to Saks Fifth Avenue, Bergdorf Goodman, Neiman Marcus, Barney's, McKinsey & Child, Vaco, Bayman, and her napkins now, she does home textiles, and for a long time her specialty was napkins, are now in the White House, and they're in John Travolta's house. I don't know what's more impressive. But and she did all that because she thought, why not, right? This is what I love. This is what I love. And I'm not going to let anything stand in the way of it. And I'm going to keep charging ahead. What's the worst that could happen? I could get embarrassed. Okay, I can live with that, right? Somebody tells me that what I'm doing is ayıp. I can live with that. Okay, somebody tells me that I have gone outside of my boundaries. I can live with that. Okay, and so at her height, she had 400 women working for her here in Turkey. Okay, you name it, Erzurum, Mersin, Istanbul, women all across Turkey working. And look, you have to know, even with my story and my mom's story, it's not easy. There are a lot of really hard times. I remember in 2006, we almost closed our company because we were running so low on cash and it looked like there was no hope. And then at the last second, we decided that we were going to ask the audience for help, and they poured in money to keep us in business. And so we have this bond with our audience. We love them. We couldn't have done it without them, literally. And at every time that we've had a hardship, they've backed us up, and they've kept us going. And with my mom, for her, a lot of that was the women that worked here. And And, you know, she's such an inspirational figure to me, and I remember this one speech that really stands out to me. And they were in really hard times, and she needed everybody to work hard to get to this objective that they needed to get to. And she pulled all of them in, and she said, before me, I see Atatürk's daughters. And we've been through this before. If we could get through what we got through before, we can get through this. And for those women, it wasn't just a living, it wasn't just a salary. For a lot of them, it was the first job they ever had and the only job they ever had. And it gave them a sense of purpose, and it still does today. It's their way, it's the best they can do in being able to build something. And if you had asked them 10 years ago, do you think you'll build something that'll be in the White House? They probably would have laughed at you. If you had asked us in our living room, hey, do you think you'll get to 2 billion views? We would have laughed and laughed and laughed. Even we didn't believe that much. But if you have the right spirit, as my mother showed me, anything can be done, okay? And if you have the courage to ask, why not, you'd be surprised at the answers that you get. And to that question, as I promised you, let me come back to it. The why not is all the feelings that we all legitimately have. I had. I mean, before every one of those dramatic decisions that I told you about, it wasn't easy. It was me sitting there with friends, family, etc., and walking around the living room for 2-3 hours, 2-3 days, thinking, can I do this? Can I do this? Can I do this, right? And the why not is you feel that you're going to be embarrassed, that you might fail, that you might disappoint people, and that at the end of the day, they might say, oh, look at that. He or she tried, but it didn't work. And unfortunately, a lot of people love to say that, right? And so you get scared. Now, that feeling is not illegitimate. It's a real feeling, and it's what everybody has. The trick is to get beyond that and to say, I can do that, you know, that I'm willing to face that. And if you are, and you see what your passion is, and you want to get on that road, I'm here to tell you through my mom's experience in spirit and through my experience that you can accomplish anything. So I want to thank you for the opportunity to speak to you guys today, and I am honored and privileged to have had that opportunity. And before me today, I also see Atatürk's